I've been going in a lot of different directions with regards to my experiences, my background, sharing anecdotes, and I actually wanted to dive into an example that's um, little bit embarrassing, I guess. Sort of one of the major mistakes I made in my career, and I think it's worth sharing because there are some lessons to be learned in this example. So, um, a couple of years back, I was in a company at a sort of mid-level role, but a lot of the leadership was jumping ship because of financial issues. So I had a lot of opportunities to grab high-level responsibilities, and I took them. Um, Before I knew it, one sort of project or a group of projects that fell into my lap. The company wanted to revamp its website. It had a website that was kind of more of a catalog of what the company offers. They wanted to redo it, and the end result was really they wanted people to make accounts with the company, right? Make an account. They wanted them to be able to shop online, make purchases online, have things delivered to them or to the stores that the company had. They wanted accurate you know inventory numbers so people could see if something was in stock, check against other stores. So some enterprise asset management needed to also be developed because we didn't have any. um, and it was just it was a little bit complicated because the website hadn't been touched in years, right? So already you have a very big animal where a company with virtually no online presence suddenly wants people to be able to shop on its website and have a very seamless user experience similar to, I guess, Amazon. They never really said that, but they listed various companies who themselves did admit they were trying to have a sort of Amazon like experience. So that was one project that I made the mistake of accepting. The company also had no mobile applications, again very old school, and they wanted me to create an iOS application, right, to run that project. The creation of an iOS application for this company that mirrors what the website does. So the idea is, they want a mobile application so people can shop, and they also want a an Android variant where same story. They want people to be able to shop on these applications. They want them to, be able to make accounts really quickly and just start buying, spending money for the company. These are very, just very quickly, if you have any experience with any of these, you know that these are very large animals, right? These are projects that are going to involve, truthfully, dozens of people at the very least, hundreds of people. Is when you look at the timeline being that they wanted this done within, 6 months, maybe 9 months, possibly a year, but that was like the worst case scenario. And they really pushed me to get all of these things done in 6 months. So I I was a little bit younger, a little bit arrogant, a little bit egotistical. I mean, I believe that this could be done. I believe it could be done easily. And I thought, the company's throwing a lot of money at this project, they're throwing a lot of resources, I'll be able to make it happen. The problem that, the first mistake that I made, first mistake was really seeking additional work. That was my first mistake, right? So this entire story starts because I decided, hey, I want to do more. I want to do more. I want to impress people. Nobody cared, right? That was my first mistake. Second mistake was, accepting all of these responsibilities when I really should have just focused on one, right? Never mind that none of these would have fallen into my lap if I hadn't been so, I guess, hungry or, um, you know, buying into the whole hustle culture. So my first mistake was looking for extra work. My second mistake was finding it and accepting it. Um, so, one mistake just after another. When I assembled my teams, right? When I assembled my teams, I didn't really allocate my resources evenly. Um, so what ended up happening was our Android application, the resources allocated to that was a little bit less. Well, no, not even a little bit less. It was a lot less versus iOS as well as desktop. My reasoning was we had pulled some data that showed that we did currently have a website, and I saw that a lot of people, majority of our traffic was really coming from iOS devices as well as just computers or browsers. Not a lot of it was coming from Android phones. It did not occur to me, however, that if we made a mobile application at that time, there just seemed to be a lot of Android phones in the market. Um, it did not occur to me that if I made a mobile application and maybe dedicated more resources, we actually would have built up a stronger user base, as a lot of people were doing mobile shopping. Um, I saw a lot of users coming from the desktop, the browsers, their laptops, but it didn't occur to me that just because people are visiting on their computers doesn't mean they're shopping. It's more likely, and the research at that time even showed, it's more likely that if you have a mobile application, you'll drum up business versus a desktop. So I shouldn't have focused on the website so much, and I shouldn't have focused too much on the iOS application. I should have um, approached things with a more holistic, educated overview. I instead just said, oh, nobody uses Android, and that's it, right? Very youthful, very ignorant. Big mistake that would bite me in the rear later on. Another issue I ran into was that I had peers, I had colleagues, people I was acquainted with. When it came to divvying up responsibilities, or putting people into certain management roles to manage this aspect or that aspect, this functionality, that application. Um, I focused a lot on people who I wanted to elevate. What that means is if I was friendly with someone, I would put them in a position where, hey, I want you focusing on um, create a user account part of this project, for the iOS application. That way, when we succeed, right, you'll get the congratulations, you'll get the attention, and it'll reflect positively on you. So rather than putting the most competent, the most qualified people as the sort of heads of this project, as a face of this project, putting them in a position of management, I just focused on trying to be, I guess, political, just dealing with people who I felt if I elevate them, when the company bounces back, they'll elevate me, and we'll help each other, climb up the ladder. Right? That was a big mistake. I'm working on these very visible, public-facing projects. There's a lot of pressure, and all I'm thinking is about office politics. All I'm thinking of is, how to just get this project done. Um, but not really what success looks like. Like I just want the applications made and then that's it. I didn't even give any thought into what happens next. What does success even look like, right? I didn't even consider marketing, which was another mistake, right? So I'm putting the wrong people in charge. I am approaching this project haphazardly. That oh, we get a lot of users on computers. That means all those people will spend money, right? Not the Android people, right? Which is just nonsense on my end. And I did virtually no marketing. So as we approached, I guess, the midpoint of the project, marketing team started reaching out to me saying, hey, how are the status updates? Where are you guys? Do you guys have a specific date of when you plan to deliver? We want to start, getting some mock-ups. We want to start making announcements. We want to, put together a schedule and let the world know we have a mobile application that launches this day. We have a new website that launches on that day. And I just kind of ignored their emails. I figured, I'll just let these guys know like a month in advance, and that'll be enough time to drum up, support and drum up attention. Huge mistake. Okay, you need to work with your marketing team. You need to work closely with them, and you need to trust them. Those people know what they're doing. They're hired for a reason. Um, if they're reaching out to you, do not delay the emails, because these people have good ideas, and they have ideas that are time sensitive, right? They like to put out announcements 6 months in advance, then 3 months, then two months, then 1 month, then 3 weeks, and 2 weeks, and every day onwards, and then on the last day they're posting every hour or something. Marketing itself is a science, right? There's a lot of psychology to it. There's a lot of science and evidence-based practices behind it. I approached marketing very haphazardly. My thought was this. I guess I thought, if I build something amazing or incredible, something functional, something that people want, I don't know, word of mouth will get around and people will just use it. I don't know, maybe I thought it was Steve Jobs or something. I thought, oh, if I make a kick-ass application, everyone then will download it. No, that's awareness is huge, right? Some of the most successful products in the world are successful because they have a good PR team. Um, Same goes for same goes for sites or applications. You need a good PR team. It's not just how good it is, how functional it is. I mean, there are phones out there that people are buying nonstop, just because they had a really really good ad. They had a really cool commercial, or even maybe the website just has cool graphics, and someone kind of made that known, right? Like they're putting on their Instagram these cool photos, stills, or what have you. So marketing kept reaching out to me. I kept ignoring them, and what ended up happening, and this, I mean, this shouldn't be a spoiler, right? The end of the story is this: I ended up, you know, launching a website that got very few visitors. I think even less visitors than before, because when people would first go on it, a lot of them were closing their tab because they didn't expect that the website was supposed to look different. So people were going on the new site, and we saw a huge drop in our visitors, and then there was a little bit of an uptick and it kind of returned to normal, and eventually slowly climbed, but that was like a 90-day process. So what ended up happening was people would initially go on our site, and then they were actually putting in tickets thinking that the original site had been hacked and they were being rerouted or something like that. They were very there was a lot more concern than there was excitement, right? Because nobody really heard any of the announcements, because I only gave them about a 30 days heads up. That's not enough time for information to permeate the general population. In addition, the iOS application and Android application, I think the Android got like 400 downloads in the first month. It was actually pretty bad number. The iOS got a few thousand, but for a company whose customer base was in the millions, a few thousand downloads was considered a huge fail. So I failed pretty miserably in that role. And, thankfully, well, not thankfully, right? It should never be grateful. I should never be grateful that the failure of others eclipses my own, especially when mine were pretty bad, because I was trusted with a project that, if I had done appropriately, properly, could have made my career. Like I could have, really dictated where my career went after that. I think I could have even jumped to VP level or C-suite a lot sooner, because this was an amazing opportunity to really drive the company, right, from a technical perspective. And I consider that project or those projects my greatest failures, because every time there was a major decision involved, right, from the very beginning, I took a bit off more than I could chew. I didn't distribute resources appropriately. I didn't do any marketing. I just put the people I liked in charge. No regards to credentials. And looking back, I even remember some of the people on these projects had launched successful sites or applications in the past for other employers. And if I had put them if I had put them in the management of these projects and products, I have no doubt that they would have provided me with some counsel, rather than me putting them under a few layers of bureaucracy where they're so removed from me that I can't leverage them as resources. So every possible mistake I could have made, I made. I really think that marketing could have been the saving grace if I just worked with them, because we did deliver on time, but because no one really knew what I had, what we had built, not I, but because no one knew what we had built, it just didn't have much of a business impact. Thankfully, again, I say thankfully when I shouldn't. I think it's just a habit. Unfortunately, other people within IT had made larger mistakes. Some of them had, tried projects that were a little bit more costly, with fewer deliverables, and they were a little bit more malignant to the enterprise. And because we operated at the same time, the mistakes that were made by my colleagues sort of softened the blow for me, so to speak. It's not that I got off scot free, but the company was so focused on their financials, and there was just so much happening that my failure sort of didn't make the front page, but it was given like an honorable mention here and there. And um, it is something that haunts me time to time, because whenever I approach projects, I always try to ensure that I'm never overeager, right? I think maturely. Am I the most qualified to lead this initiative? Am I the most experienced? I don't want to do something because it's exciting. I don't want to do something because it's showy. I only want to be a part of something if I can add value, if I know what I'm doing. And when in that role, I always ensure that the right resources are allocated. I use my experience to make these decisions: how much money, how many people, how much time, etc., etc. Using my background, I get pretty good estimates. I like to overestimate if I can. And when it comes to placing people in charge, I just go based on strengths, past history, who has experience with, this responsibility, that duty. I have really many years ago left behind the notion of office politics, or you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Now I just put the best people who are the most qualified in charge of projects. So this isn't a wholly exciting story. There's not a whole lot of drama. I try to keep that out of these podcasts. I try to just keep it very informative. Um, Sometimes I feel like I sound a little flat. Um, like I feel like if I gave someone good news or bad news, I have the same tone. But at the end of the day, it's just about conveying information, right? Just giving the facts. And I like to keep these short. I like to keep them a little monotone, because I think that's just how I speak. I didn't know until I started recording myself and listening to myself, because that's not something you'll do on a regular basis. But when you start recording these 10-plus minute podcasts and listening to yourself, you kind of realize you have a little bit of a boring tone and you sound very boring. So hopefully no one's listening to these on the way to work, because they're just going to fall asleep at the wheel. That is all for now, and there will probably be more mistakes to come, but I think this was just maybe not my biggest, but definitely the most embarrassing, because I just did everything wrong.